This edition of the Cowboys Report is made possible by Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping with code Cowboys over at manscaped.com. Make sure your boys have looked the best they ever have with Manscaped. Today's show is a mock draft. This time from ESPN, a 7-round mock draft from Jordan Reid with trades. Now, I have yet to decide if I will do, on my final NFL mock draft on Wednesday, if I will do trades in that one, but ESPN's doing it, so I figured a great time to run through it there. We will have my final Cowboys mock draft for you on Wednesday. We will also be live throughout the entirety of the 2024 NFL Draft, so make sure you are subscribed. First, some notable round 1 picks. Brian Thomas at 15, J.C. Latham at 16, Byron Murphy to Cincinnati, Seattle trades down and takes Troy Polamalu, and Amarius Mims off the board at 21. So Dallas at pick 24 gets a call from Kansas City and trades down, getting back a 3rd and a 5th round pick. So big return back, pretty even return back, by the way. You get that late 3rd to kind of cover up for that lack of a 4th rounder and a 5th rounder on top to move down to pick number 32. So of the notable picks off the board, and I do think this matters in terms of, hey, you moved down that far, there are some players you like that aren't available. A.D. Mitchell was the pick there by the Chiefs. Graham Barton at 25 was there. And given that he was a pre-draft visit for the Cowboys, I wonder if that is the ideal pick for if they would actually move away from him. Might be one of the guys they stay for there. Chop Robinson, Johnny Newton. Tyler Guyton. This is also part of the issue. The whole world knows you need offensive line help. So what the Commanders did was jump up in front of you and steal that pick. Like they in theory sniped Guyton away, right? Like they jumped up and nabbed him, prevented you from being able to acquire him. So that's noteworthy because you might see that happen on an actual draft night. You get sniped because your needs are clear and obvious. So the pick then in round 1 in the ESPN mock draft was Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. Now, funnily enough, if you go back and look at some of our early mock drafts, we had Jordan Morgan on there. The red flag specifically for the Dallas Cowboys is the arm length. And that is an issue for a team that historically wants long-armed offensive linemen. That is not exactly Jordan Morgan's game. He's got sub-33-inch arms. Maybe he's your left guard, and in the end, you're filling up one of those holes there. Here's what Jordan Reid wrote on the pick. Dallas needs multiple starters on both sides of the ball after a quiet free agency period. The extra draft picks from our trade would help. The Cowboys can start by getting Morgan, a dependable blocker who has the ability to play tackle or guard. That gives Dallas options with Tyler Smith, who can play tackle or guard. Morgan has power to his game and can start day 1 in the NFL. I have a early second round grade on Jordan Morgan. He checked into the top, just inside the top 40 of my board. There was not very many offensive linemen who were still available when this pick happened. It was a little bit thin. I'll make note of the one player that I might have asterisks instead was Jackson Powers Johnson was there. That one is probably going to come down to the medical. And that, if the medical checks out, maybe he ends up being the pick in round 1 instead. So do you want to trade down in round 1? Y for yes, N for no in the comments section. We won't spend as much time on the picks around the Cowboys because there's more picks this time. Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. What a very original draft pick that I think we'll see a lot of in 7-round Cowboys mock drafts. Here's the pitch from ESPN. A running back finally comes off the board. It was the first one taken, by the way. It's one of the Cowboys' many needs. Tony Pollard signed in Tennessee, and Brooks has starter-level traits. A torn ACL ended his 2023 season early, but not before he broke 1,000 yards and scored 10 touchdowns. Also had 1 receiving touchdown, by the way, so you get that extra 11 total there. Had it not been for the injury, maybe he's in play in round 1. I think Rachaad White, hopefully a bit more efficient in the NFL, which might be a no-line issue. Comp is pretty decent there. It's the ACL red flag that just kind of concerns me a little bit. I don't think he's an elite power player, but he's 54th overall on my board, a second, third round grade, and that's exactly where the Cowboys are drafting in this scenario. You can call them what you want, knee knockers, golden nuggets, thigh slappers. Our friends over at Manscaped refer to them as the boys. I have a 2-year-old daughter, but every man is responsible for their 2 boys below the waist. And when your little guys have more hair than they need, trust Manscaped for all your grooming dreams. Boys need love too. So join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code COWBOYS for 20% off and free shipping. Them boys might not be back, but the boys are back in town with Manscaped. It's the lawnmower family. It's got the Lawnmower 3.0 Plus, the 4.0 Pro, and the 5.0 Ultra. That's 3 different ball trimmers, each one equipped with skin-safe technology, an LED spotlight, and unique features for different grooming needs. Get 20% off and free shipping with code COWBOYS over at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code COWBOYS at manscaped.com. For the best your boys have ever looked, trust Manscaped. Round 3, the Cowboys get one of their defensive tackle spots filled. That is Maiai Wingo out of LSU. And this was a fairly tough eval for me. I am not nearly as high on him. I have a 5th round grade on Maiai Wingo. But first, the pitch and the pros from ESPN's Jordan Reid. Wingo is an underrated defensive tackle prospect and can be disruptive in multiple areas. And the Cowboys lost Hankins to free agency in the middle of their line. My player comp here, and you guys aren't going to like this, it's small Neville Gallimore. My issue is this. Does that sack production, do those pressure rate numbers, all below 8%, do those jump off the screen to you? It's like, oh yeah, there's a great pass rusher. My answer is no. He's a weird tweener for me. He doesn't even look like a defensive tackle. Looks like an edge rusher. That is not a defensive tackle body. The testing was great. He's a really good athlete. His coaches love him, but he didn't get after the passer, and he's 6 foot and change, 284. Like, that's weird tweener stuff to me that tends to scare me. The other 3rd round pick will give some more Mike Zimmer help coming in. Cedric Gray, the linebacker out of UNC. In general, I have a tough time with this linebacker class after roughly the first 4 guys. Gray's linebacker 7 for me. He's inside my top 140, so like a round early-ish, but you're not going to have a 4th round pick in this scenario. And there are things I like about Cedric Gray. Here's the pitch from ESPN's, again, Jordan Reid. Getting bigger and more instinctive at the linebacker should be a goal of this Cowboys team. It was a little undersized there last season, which contributed to the playoff loss to Green Bay. And Gray at 6'1", 234 would help address that. Actually 6'1.5", by the way. My issue here is I don't think the instincts are that elite. There are moments it's very good. He's a solid run defender, but I think when it's not kept clean around him, which is a concern for me specifically in Dallas, I get a little bit worried about how he's able to see things, etc. Good athlete overall, not elite. I gave him that early 4th/5th round grade. There's of the guys on the board, there were not many that were left. Trevin Wallace was the one who stood out to me, so not a lot from that perspective. I thought the coverage stuff overall was it's a high completion percentage serve, but there's not a lot of big gains allowed. Broke up some passes. I think at times he just didn't quite see it the way I wanted to. But because this is kind of a weird linebacker class overall, like I wouldn't be mad at Gray and just into the top 100. It's not that big of a reach with the available players. Plus, I might be a bit lower on him in the end. Now, one player I know I'm not lower on than most is Matt Lee, the 5th round pick here for the Cowboys out of Miami. Another note here from Jordan Reid. With Tyler Biadasz now in Washington, the Cowboys are in search of a new center. Lee is a high-effort blocker who simply knows how to get the job done. even if it's in some unconventional ways. At 6'4", 301, he creates quick wins with his hands and understands leverage points. There's not much position flex here, which I think will cause issues. In terms of where he ends up going, I think he's kind of a center-only prospect at 70 snaps outside of center. But he's a center for me. I like Matt Lee a lot. In a class where I don't have a lot of day 3 sleepers, this is one of them. He's not the biggest guy, but he's above 300 pounds, although he might have played a bit below it there. He tested super well, and he didn't get beat very often. There's not a lot of he got his ass kicked on that rep. Good athlete. I don't think he's an elite power player. If you want more power, you're probably going to go in a different direction. He's a top 150 player for me in this year's class. Who is your favorite any round Dallas Cowboys draft target? Drop that player name for me in the comment section right now. The other 5th round pick, I think we might have mentioned on another different pick here, was Javontae Jean-Baptiste out of Notre Dame. He was definitely better this year for the Fighting Irish than what we ever saw in his time at Ohio State. This is not someone I am particularly high on. He falls into the category that I don't like. You do need edge depth, make no mistake about it. You are very thin right now. But in general, I don't like older projects. 24 years old as a rookie, really good athletic ability, but limited production. I don't like taking older prospects. That's why he's a 7th round grade for me. Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan. Again, this is it's funny. I do my comps as I look at my notes here, independent of the Cowboys specifically. But I will put Cowboys comps in there sometimes. My comp here is Bryce Butler. Almost 6'3", 212. Very good athletic ability, a 4.44, 40-yard dash, 37.5-inch vert. He just, in part because of the offense, didn't produce. The other big issue was in some of his team's biggest games, he wasn't really a factor. Combined 94 yards against Ohio State, Penn State, Bama, and Washington. I kind of don't like that very much. Isaiah Johnson is next up here out of Syracuse. This is actually one of the players that is on my get to if I have time list, and I typically don't end up getting to him. The reason why I didn't get to him, because I get good profiles overall, 6'3", 205, almost 33-inch arms. Cowboys love that. 4'6", 440. Visions of Nashawn Wright dancing in my head. I do have another sleeper that I was glad was the pick here out of Air Force. That is Trey Taylor, who, by the way, is the cousin of Ed Reid. Now, again, funny it's Cowboys comparisons here. The athletic comps are J.J. Wilcox and Matt Johnson. But 7th rounder, so it's different than, taking Matt Johnson super early. Really good ball production, really good athletic ability. We'll miss some tackles. I think the instincts are probably some stuff to work on because the range didn't match the testing, but he is more quicker than fast. I actually have a 5th round grade on Trey Taylor, so I would love that pick in the 7th round. The ESPN mock draft sits like this. Jordan Morgan out of Arizona in round 1. Jonathon Brooks in round 2. Mekhi Wingo in the 3rd, along with Cedric Gray. Matt Lee and Javante Jean-Baptiste in the 5th. Cornelius Johnson in the 6th. Isaiah Johnson in the 7th. And Trey Taylor also with that other 7th round pick. So grade the ESPN mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section.